Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tips Moto's podcast. We're your one-stop shop for the absolute best betting predictions right here in Kenya. Tonight, we're going to be doing a deep dive into a Champions League playoff match that's got everyone talking. It's Monaco versus Benfica, and it all goes down Wednesday night over at Stade Louis II. And let me tell you, there's some pretty fascinating angles to this one.
Yeah, what's really interesting here is the history between these two teams. Earlier this season, Benfica pulled off that 3-2 win at this very stadium. So that might give them a bit of a psychological edge going into this match.
Yeah, that's a great point. It really makes you wonder if Monaco can overcome that home disadvantage. I've been looking at their recent performance, and honestly, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. They barely even made it into the playoffs. And then on top of that, they got hit with that tough loss to PSG just this past weekend.
And their defense has been giving up a lot of goals lately. They've conceded I think it's 9 goals in their last 5 games, which is definitely a cause for concern. And then on top of that, they're dealing with some key injuries too. So this could actually mean a Champions League debut for Mika Biereth, that young striker who just bagged a hat-trick in the last match?
Yeah.
Biereth's potential debut is definitely a wild card. Could he be the spark that Monaco needs to turn things around? It's interesting because while they're struggling, they still have that potential for some really explosive offense, especially with Biereth potentially in the mix. But then on the flip side, Benfica is riding high right now. They secured their playoff spot pretty confidently, and they're closing the gap in their domestic league.
Yeah, their captain, Nicolas Otamendi, is a big part of that success. He's been absolutely on fire, not only leading their defense, but also finding the back of the net himself. Remember that stunning header he scored against Braga a few weeks ago? The guy's clearly in top form.
Yeah, it sounds like he's become a real force for Benfica.
Yeah.
And we know they've had the upper hand against Monaco in their past Champions League encounters. So we basically have Monaco, a team that's trying to find their footing, but with a potentially explosive young player, going up against a super confident Benfica squad who are being led by a captain at the top of his game.
Exactly. And that is where the Tips Moto supercomputer comes in. It analyzes all of this data, looking at team form, individual player performance, head-to-head records, even those tiny little details that might get overlooked.
So the supercomputer's crunching all these numbers to try and predict the outcome of the match.
More than that, it's looking for those hidden patterns and edges that might not be obvious at first glance. We want to give you more than just your basic stats. We want to provide insights that can actually inform your betting decisions.
Yeah, it's fascinating because when you look at Monaco's recent form, you might think, oh, Benfica's got this one in the bag. But our analysis is actually saying that it might be a lot closer than people think. Oh, really?
Yeah.
But we were just talking about how leaky Monaco's defense has been. And Benfica just seems to have their number. So how is the supercomputer seeing this differently?
Well, that's what makes football so exciting, right? Full of surprises. Even with their defensive issues, Monaco can still pack a serious punch offensively. And if Biereth gets a chance, he could really shake things up. Remember, this is a young player with something to prove. And that can be a pretty dangerous combination.
So you're thinking Biereth could be that X factor, that wild card that just throws off Benfica's whole game plan. That's a pretty interesting angle.
Absolutely. I mean, his recent hat-trick shows he's in form and hungry for more. Plus, Monaco knows they need a result here. And sometimes that pressure can really galvanize a team.
That makes sense. But what about Benfica's momentum, though?
Yeah.
They've been winning. Otamendi's leading the charge. Surely the supercomputer's taking all that into account too, right?
Oh, of course. Benfica is a strong side. Otamendi's a force to be reckoned with. Our analysis definitely doesn't discount that. But even within their winning streak, there are some vulnerabilities, particularly at the back.
You're talking about the number of goals they've conceded recently, right?
Right.
Even though they've been winning, those matches have been pretty high scoring.
Exactly. And that suggests their defense isn't exactly impenetrable. Even with some key players out for Monaco, their attack could still exploit those weaknesses. We got to remember that this Monaco side, even on a bad day, can create chances.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see why the supercomputer's seeing this as a tighter contest than it might appear on the surface.
This is exactly the kind of match the Tips Moto supercomputer excels at analyzing. These close and unpredictable games are where the real value lies, and the supercomputer can sift through all the noise and find those hidden edges that can really inform your betting decisions.
So you saying this match is a toss-up then? Could go either way?
Well, I don't want to spoil all the fun just yet, but let's just say the supercomputer's prediction might surprise you. It's taken everything we've talked about into account. Monaco's struggles, their potential firepower, Benfica's form, their defensive vulnerabilities, And of course, all the historical data.
You've definitely piqued my curiosity.
Sure to follow Tipsmodo on all our social media platforms. We've got all the insights and tools you need to make some informed decisions about your bets.
And remember, folks, betting should always be done responsibly. But with the right information and a little bit of luck, you can turn your passion for football into some serious profit. Good luck with your wagers, everyone. And don't forget to follow Tipsmodo for all of the latest betting tips, predictions, and promotions. We'll see you all right back here next week for another deep dive into the world of football betting.